Man, I'm looking super scruffy today. Gonna have to like hit up my boy later to get a cut. Oh, I'm recording. Oh, my fault. Well, with that being said, you may be asking why I'm wearing all of this and have all this equipment now. To answer that question, we're gonna raise up this car today and we're gonna restore a key component of this vehicle. So have a seat, chill back, and enjoy this next episode. Welcome back to A.S.A.P Garage with your boy Dro. Well, I want to thank you for joining me in this journey again. You have watched 6 awesome episodes with different parts. Now we're moving on to episode 7, and we're going to be addressing the brakes. This is going to be the brake segment. The interior came out awesome, like I said in the previous episode. I'm going to show you a quick video of what we did there. Now we're going to jump into what we want to call the brake segment. But in order to upgrade these brakes, we want to upgrade the look of these calipers because they're old, crusty, over a decade old, and we don't know if they work, so we have to inspect them. In order to do that, I have to raise up the car, remove the wheels, and take a look at them. After I see that they work, we're going to start the restoration process of the brake calipers so we could continue the brake upgrades. And to do that, I'm going to use 3 paint. The first one we're going to use is the VHT Flameproof primer. This goes up to 2,000 degrees. The next thing that we're going to hit it with is the Caliper Paint Red by VHT. This goes up to 900 degrees. And the final one is the Caliper Clear, and this goes up to also 900 degrees. I have placed these in a warm area, so they should be ready to go. I have enough to get all of the calipers looking fresh today. If they work, if they don't work, I am going to order a new one. I do know that one of the rear calipers are seized, or like the drain is seized. So I got a new one of those, so that's ready to go. But first, we got to lift this car up, put it on jack stands, and I want to do a little tutorial on how to do that. I have loosened the bolts on all the other wheels. We just have one more wheel that we have to hit, and it's this one. The reason why you want to loosen the bolts or the nuts here of the lug nuts of this wheel is what it's called. It's because the weight of the car is on the wheel, and it's much easier than when it's up in the air. The wheel could spin, and it's just gonna be harder to get the lug nuts removed. So let's do that now. I'm gonna raise up this car, do a quick time lapse on the rest of the lift up process, and then we could get straight into the restoration of these brake calipers because they're looking pretty crusty. And if you put a nice wheel on this, which we are in the future, it's not gonna look good. So first, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna loosen the lug nuts, like I said. So let's get that started. So that's loose. Okay, that one's loose. We don't want to take it off completely. Just want to loosen it. Yeah, that one's loose. That one's loose. And if you have a wheel lock, which you should if you have premium wheels, you're going to use the lock for that. You don't want your wheels to get stolen. Okay, so that's also loose. So now the next step that we're going to do is that we're going to take the jack, lift up the car, And always make sure to use quality jack stands. If you have one that has a locking to it, even better. So let's lift up this car. I'm gonna use the middle of the car because I don't have much space here to get it under the front car or the rear of the car, because as you see, the car is lowered, and we're gonna address that later on in future episode why this car is lowered. I'm gonna put it here in the middle of the car, and because the car is lowered, the good thing is that it's gonna raise up both the front and the rear. You want to make sure that you're on the lip of the frame, and do this quickly so that way all the weight of the car doesn't bend that lip, because you're not supposed to be lifting it from there. But for this, we're going to lift it from there. I'm going to go as high as I can so that way I could have good and comfortable accessibility to that wheel well. Okay, that should be high enough. This is the proper stuff. I want to be on the last one. Okay. Awesome. Right there. And the rear should be good too. Right there. We're going to lock it in place here. And this is a good time to lock it in place. There we go. And I'm going to slowly drop it on the jack stands. Awesome. There we go. So I'm going to do that to the other side and do a quick time lapse. And then we're going to come back to remove the wheels. All right, so basically we lift up the car, and now we're going to remove this final wheel. I removed all other three, and now this is the final one. I also did an inspection of the brakes and found out that the rear passenger one, the bleeder nut is seized. So I ordered a new caliper for that one. I still have to check this one for as the final one. And we're just going to remove it, the lug nuts, completely. Okay. So wheel is off, and inspection was completed of the calipers. After that, I took a break. I went to get a cut, and my brother started working on his motorcycle. When I came back, I just decided that I'm going to work on the passenger side of the vehicle, since that area doesn't have a good area where I could place the tripod and get you good content. During that, I removed the calipers from the passenger side, which I have here in front of me, and I removed the rear one, which is the important one, because after inspecting that one, I verified with what my cousin said, who works at Honda, that the rear caliper bleeder valve is seized. So I ordered a new one before starting this project, and I have it with me. Now I'm going to replace that one so we don't have to restore the passenger rear um, caliper. This one we could just toss. The bleeder valve is basically this one right here. You can see it there. Let me get a little closer. And I'm going to give you a quick inspection of what the driver side has, how rusted it looks, and what's the process to get it restored. I started on the passenger side, like I said, and what I'm using after removing the caliper is a wheel brush, and I'm just removing all the rust or caked in brake dust, and then we're gonna hit it with some sandpaper manually to get a lot of this crud off completely, clean it properly, prep it, and then start the painting process of it. I'm going to start with the driver's side now, and I'm going to get you a better angle so that way you can see what I have to do to remove that caliper. And then I'll do the driver rear, and then we'll start on the prepping process, sanding, cleaning, um, taping, masking, and then we'll start with the painting. So let me get you a better angle and you can see what I'm doing here. All right, so I hope this is a better angle. Basically what we have to do is that we have to remove two bolts here. But first, what I want to do is that I want to, while the caliper is on, hit it with the wheel brush to remove some of the rust and the caked in brake dust. If you're gonna do this, you want to wear a respirator, and you want to definitely wear your safety goggles. You don't want to be breathing in brake dust that is not healthy for your lungs. Now, what I also want you to do while doing this is be very cautious with any of the brake lines or cables that are in the way. You don't want to mess those up while it's being on there. So I'm going to start that on. Let me just put in my respirator on. So while I have the respirator, I'm not going to be talking because it's going to be muffled. So we're just going to start with the wire brush. Okay, so I time lapsed that a little bit so that way we don't have to like see me do all that process. But basically, is straightforward. Or you have to put the wire brush to the caliper and start cleaning off some of that rust. Now we're gonna go forward with the removal process. What we need is a ratchet wrench and a 12 millimeter to remove the two bolts holding the caliper to the rotor and to the caliper bracket. See if it comes off easy. There we go. All right, so that came off, and now we're going to do the other one. There we go, that came off. Some tight bolts. All right. So once more, you don't want your caliper dangling down on the brake hose, because that could damage the brake hose, and that's very dangerous when you drive. So what you want to do is place it somewhere where it's not dangling. I'm not going to be reusing my brake hose, but still, I'm going to place it on this side out of the way. There you go. And now we're going to remove the caliper bracket. Caliper bracket has 2 bolts, and it's going to be the same way. These bolts are sorry, not these 2 bolts. I'm sorry. It's going to be on this side here. There's a bolt right down here and one to the end here. These are very difficult to remove, so it might need a cheater bar. I'll show you what a cheater bar is in just a second. Let's see if we can get that on there. This is a 17mm bolt. Same thing with the top. Okay. Let's get this off here. All right, definitely gonna need the cheater bar. I'm gonna show you what that is in just a second. So basically, this is what a cheater bar is. Just an extender. I'll try to see if I can get it on here. Let me move the light back a bit, and it should just be quick. There we go. And then now we're gonna do the bottom one also. If you have a breaker bar, which I do, I'm lazy to go get it. I had the cheater bar here already. There we go. So that worked really good there. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Oh, camera down. Not camera, light. This should come off now. And the top one too. Let's take these brake pads out of the way. These brake pads are still brand new. Look at that. I barely drove this car when I bought it. I changed everything, but barely drove it. So this is the brake caliper bracket, and that's done. Now we could move on to the rear, and I'm going to change camera view, so I'll see you at the rear. So we're now in the rear driver's side to remove the caliper. I already loosened the bolts, these 2 here. There's one here and one here to remove the caliper. The only difference from the front and the rear is that the rear has the brake cable, which is this spring here with this cable that's connected all along the line here. And what I didn't show you from the front is how to remove the brake hose um, bolt from the caliper. Now we're gonna go and try to remove the brake cable. This is very difficult, so I have a vice grip, which I have to turn that spring and remove it out. So I'm gonna try that right now to turn and remove at the same time. Let's see if I can get a good grip here first. Let's see where I can get a good grip. There we go. That's very good grip. Let's see if I could do it by hand on the. There we go. So I could do it by hand. So this is the brake cable. All you have to do was turn the spring downward and it comes out. Let me get that out of the way. Some people say to remove this right here. You don't need to remove that. That just stays there. And now I could remove the brake caliper out. So same thing with the front. You want to bang the brake caliper out because the piston is holding the rotor with the brake pad. This one is a little stuck there. Let me see something. Let me hit it a little harder. And it's off. So that's off. It should come off completely. The only thing that's holding it right now is the brake hose. And we're going to remove that now. That is an 11 millimeter. Okay. Oh, sorry, not 11 millimeter on here. It should be probably the same size. Let's see here. Yep, a 14. Okay. So that came off. And right away, we're gonna grab a Ziploc bag and put the hose inside so that way it doesn't leak everywhere. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Yep. And let's remove these bolts again. I had to put these caliper bolts back in. And that's about it. Basically, it's the same step to remove the caliper bracket. And I'll see you during the prep process because this should be removed. Let me show you right now. and the caliper is free from here. The other two bolts that we got to remove actually is these two here. It's on this side, if you can see it. Let me see if I can get you a better camera angle here. Might not be able to show you, but let me zoom this down a little bit. There we go. A little lower. There's two bolts in here that has to be removed, and I'm going to show you how to get those out now. These are 12s. All right. So since I don't have something to hold the caliper in place, I'm going to use my gun to remove it. Okay, that one's off. Let me get the cable out the way here. Okay, and that's off. You want to make sure you put some PB Blaster or WD-40 on these. There we go. And caliper is out. I'll see you guys in the prep process.